Got that solved. Let's see what else we can solve tonight.
Right on. Okay, let's go. I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. So before we begin, we acknowledge that we are gathered here tonight on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lummi, Nooksack, Samish, and Semiahmoo people who have cared and tended this land since time immemorial. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual understanding, respect, and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. In this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth, we pay respect to their elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events. So thank you for being here. Okay, I'm going to go through the agenda. So here we go. Also be in your packet. Is it in your packet? Yeah, right on the front page. I want to especially give a shout out to Kathy Helka and just all of her work at that back end to get all of these pieces to work so that we have paper and we have agendas and we have all that stuff we need. So our agenda for tonight is to, I'm going to just go a little bit over the purpose of why we're here. And then we're going to have a project overview with several speakers to give you a sense of the whole picture. And then we're going to move directly into the listening session. And that's really the heart of tonight, is to be able, is that better, Joy? Okay. The purpose of tonight is to be able to hear all of you and just see what you think about these issues, really. So the purpose is to ask for your input on incarceration change in Whatcom County and to gather feedback on the vision, values, goals, needs, and gaps that have been identified by the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. And they're in the process of really developing a needs assessment for Whatcom County, which is going to be presented here in the early part of 2023. So this mic is making it being really, you can hear every single consonant. I don't know what to do about that, except I will continue back right here. Okay, I'm going to find the perfect number of inches. Okay, great. So first I want to introduce and thank the SAC. So SAC, will you stand up, please? I know, and we're going to applaud you because they've been working so hard all year. Really amazing stuff, like going through so much information, trying to understand the issues, bringing their own experience and wisdom to the table, and trying to figure out, okay, what do we need to do in Whatcom County to really have a system that we can be proud of? So that's what they've been working on. The notes we are of course recording the session, and the notes are being taken by my colleague, Marty Solomon here, who will also be preparing a report that will go to the SAC so that the SAC can look at this town hall and a bunch of other input that's being gathered so that we can look at it as a whole and see what the feedback has been. So in addition to this town hall, we have a couple other things. We have the survey, and we have already 1,563 respondents, which is great. And you can also all take the survey. It's online. I'll give you the link at the end. We also have a group called the VITA agency who's going around, and they are really reaching out to specific target audiences that might not have their voices heard, folks who are kind of traditionally underrepresented in these dialogues. So we're going to bring all that together and kind of hear, okay, we've been working really hard as a SAC to understand the issues, and now what are we hearing from the community at large? So that's the goal. Next slide. So with all that, that's our plan for tonight, what we're hoping to get out of it. The jail, is that what you're, yeah, thank you. Barry's gonna, so the other thing you totally want to do is there is a video of the jail, about the jail and its current conditions, so that you can have a sense of what's going on with it. And I'll make sure that I'll write it up, and we'll make sure you have a link so you can watch it. I totally recommend you watch it because it will help you understand why we're having this conversation. Or one of the reasons. There's actually a lot of reasons. Okay, Stephen and Barry, anything I'm forgetting before I move it on?
No.
Okay, great. All right. So without further ado, it is my honor to welcome Executive Sidhu. And are you ready?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Speak, and it's probably good if you speak up too.
Okay, sure. Good evening, Stakeholder Advisory Committee members and the members of public. This is Satpal Sidhu, Whatcom County Executive. I would like to welcome all the participants present in the council chambers and online. Our community needs a justice and safety facility to replace the current inhumane and inadequate old crumbling jail. Community members and the county government has been working for past 15 years to come up with a consensus on a plan to replace the current jail, and it has not come to a fruition for different reasons. The cost has increased from less than $50 million to the range of $150 million. This is a complex community need, and there are many threads of needs for justice facility. I believe the key for all of us is to prioritize all these needs and then make a decision which ones should be included and paid for as a start. More investments can be made in future to expand the services. It is a delicate balance between the needs and the wants and the resources we can afford at this time. I'm currently in Washington County's annual conference in Renton and reaching you online, but I will be listening to all the comments and ideas very carefully. And I know all the Stakeholder Advisory Committee members will take your ideas and comments into account to make final recommendations to the County Council, who will make the final decision. Thank you very much. I look forward to listening to everybody. Thank you.
Executive Sidhu. All right, and next up, let's see. We should have Tyler Schroeder, the Deputy Executive. Tyler, are you there?
Yeah, good evening.
Hi.
Stakeholder Advisory Committee members and members of the public. Tyler Schroeder, Deputy Executive. I get the opportunity and privilege to kind of walk through some recent history to give some background to the conversation and before the input tonight. Looking forward to that. Back in 2011, the Jail Planning Task Force was developed to address overcrowding and increased need for behavioral health and other services. In 2012, that task force recommended to build a new expanded jail facility. In 2013, Whatcom County purchased land in Ferndale for a new jail facility. In 2014, the voters of Whatcom County rejected Proposition number 2015-1, which was intended to fund a new expanded jail with a 2/10 sales tax increase. In 2015, the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force was established by the County Council. Moving forward into 2017, the voters of Whatcom County again turned down a sales tax for it to fund the new expanded jail. In 2018, the county council and the county conducted a listening tour and online surveys. Participants were asked the county to prioritize rehabilitation over punishment and address the root cause of incarceration. In 2020, the county formed a committee to develop a justice project needs assessment and engages diverse communities to provide feedback and help guide recommendations. Soon after that, COVID-19 hit, and the SAC, the SAC, did not meet until they reconvened in January of 2022. The idea out of this process is that early in 2023, the Justice Project Needs Assessment will be available for public view. Thank you so much for hearing the background and details. I'm going to turn it over to Stephen Gockley, co-chair of the Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force, to walk through that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. My name is Stephen Gockley. I'm the co-chair of the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force. My esteemed co-leader, Jack Hovenier, is out of town tonight and not able to join us. But Jack joins me in thanking you all for giving your time and your thoughts to this important cluster of issues. As the history indicates, the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force was created by council ordinance in 2015 after the first ballot initiative for a new jail was defeated. As County Executive Sidhu said, work on a new jail had been going on for years at that time. There had been a fairly sizable consensus that a new jail, in light of the condition of the old jail, of the existing jail, needed to be built. And if you have concerns about understanding the current condition of the jail, I strongly recommend the video that Holly referenced, and is the link to which is in your materials and on the Stakeholder Advisory Committee website. It's a pretty exhaustive tour of the conditions right there, which are of great concern to us in terms of the health and well-being of the correctional staff that works there, as well as the people who are being detained there. Why am I talking about the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force? Well, as I said, we've been working on these issues for quite a number of years. So that's the first thing. There's a considerable expertise built up on reducing and preventing incarceration. We have been active supporters for the Stakeholder Advisory Committee since it was formed. Members of the task force form a fairly sizable minority portion of the members of the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. So we're participating across the work of the two bodies. We've provided a considerable amount of background information coming out of our work over those years. We've provided an extensive array of data to inform Stakeholder Advisory Committee members. And we've lent the experience that we have both individually and collectively through those years of work. The task force also will be reviewing the recommendations that come out of the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. We hope to endorse or at very least concur with most, if not all, of those recommendations, and lend our weight as they move forward in the process and come before the council for consideration. And lastly, in the discussions of the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, and I expect through some of the comments we get from public participants tonight, there will be issues identified that are really perhaps beyond the scope of what a single ballot initiative might carry, but are critical to reforming our criminal legal system. And so that work will carry on beyond a ballot initiative, beyond a new jail. I expect that will fall in the lap of the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force as well. So we're interested in the long range work here as well. The IPRTF, if I may abbreviate, has mixed membership consisting of designated governmental representatives and community stakeholders. When I say governmental representatives, I'm talking about all jurisdictions in Whatcom County, municipal, county. I'm talking about all branches of government. We have executive branch officials, Executive Sidhu, Mayor Fleetwood, Mayor Cortice for the small cities. We have court system representatives, we have judges, we have court administrators, we have court clerks, and we have legislative members. We have council members for the county and for cities. So a lot of elected officials and a lot of the agency officials who do some of the heavy lifting for this and other community interests. Community stakeholders include people with lived experience in the criminal legal system. They also include people who work daily with providing services, supports, treatment to people who have been through the criminal legal system. So it's a diverse group. I think that's one of the strengths of the task force, and I'll mention that in a little more detail in a moment. The functions of the task force are to identify issues, to give priorities to issues, to vet them, to debate them, to research them, ultimately to make recommendations, to advise both the county council and the county executive. We also serve to catalyze, focus on certain issues. We have been the initiator, even though we are not the implementers of some of the reforms in the last few years. And we share information across organizations. Before the task force was formed, a lot of different stakeholders in the system compiled their own information, but they didn't share it much outside their own work. Now we try to promote that kind of collaboration within the system. After a few years, the task force was also designated to serve as the county's Law and Justice Council. Initially, after the first ballot initiative was failed, we took the clue of our name to prevent and reduce incarceration as also charging us to not consider jail issues. Those were very hotly debated in that first campaign. If you remember, it was a very close vote. We decided to work outside the system and look for ways to prevent and reduce and not to debate issues relative to the jail itself. The Law and Justice Council, however, which we now are as well, is embedded in state law. We had not had an active Law and Justice Council for a number of years, but that charge is to advise the county on all criminal legal system issues, and that would include the jail. So that's now within our scope of work. How does the IPRTF work? We have a set of committees and work groups. We have a steering committee that guides some of our work. We have a work group. We have a committee that focuses on the legal and justice systems, the formal process. We have a behavioral health subcommittee. We have a data subcommittee. And we have several work groups, one working with the Superior Court judicial officers on pretrial issues and a couple of others. We work by consensus decision-making. That's not always easy, but in fact, we've actually been able to achieve consensus on almost everything that we have done over 7 years. So that's quite an accomplishment. I think the fact that we have so many stakeholders sitting at the table engenders collaboration among public entities and community interests. I think we all have come to the conclusion that that's really the only effective way to do any of this work is in collaboration. And I'm proud to say that our task force has been widely acknowledged as a model effort for promoting positive change in criminal legal system. We've sent local elected officials as representatives to a MacArthur Foundation process across national jurisdictions to explore criminal justice reforms. We have had the Vera Institute for Justice, a nationally recognized consulting group here. We are working with the State Administrative Office of the Courts. We have had representatives on the State Pretrial Reform Task Force, and we have engaged with University of Washington criminal justice researchers. All of them have remarked on how far advanced our thinking, our action, and our collaboration is and have commended us for our work. What have we accomplished so far? If you are up in the Iron Gate neighborhood, you'll see a brand new 32-bed crisis stabilization center, officially named the Ann Deacon Center for Hope in honor of former Health Department official Ann Deacon, who was the instigator and really the guiding light for that. That's 16 beds of acute need mental health treatment and 16 beds for acute need substance use disorder treatment. These people who need stabilization for their treatment needs previously had either been taken to the emergency room at Peace Health, or they had been incarcerated in the jail for lack of any other alternatives. We now have those 32 beds up and running thanks to a lot of the impetus of the task force. We've helped implement the ground level response and coordinated engagement, the GRACE program, an innovative street level intervention for people who are frequent users of emergency medical services for their disorders. We have encouraged the development of the LEAD program, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, which is also a street level law enforcement initiated diversion program. Both of these keep people from being booked into the jail and instead connect them with a coordinated system of referrals and support services. The task force has adopted a commitment to reduce racial disparities in our criminal legal system. One of the findings of the Vera Institute report that you can see on our website, and one of the things that we consider a top priority for our work, and the SAC has taken on as a top priority for its work. We've created the Superior Court's Pretrial Services Unit and the beginning of the use of a nationally recognized pretrial risk assessment tool, so that so many people who are awaiting trial, not convicted of a crime yet, and don't present a risk to community safety, can be released while they're awaiting trial. And we are promoting the co-responder program out of the sheriff's office and the alternative response team about to roll out of the Bellingham Police Department as less lethal response to crises out in the field. We've also helped develop a recovery house to support clean and sober housing for drug court participants. And what will our ongoing work involve? First of all, we'll continue to use best practices, evidence-based approaches, and relying on expert advice as we study improvements we can make in the system. We're improving data collection, sharing, advocating for better data systems, working together, and data transparency, both within the criminal legal continuum of services and with you, the public, so you can understand and hold the system accountable for the outcomes that are being produced. We continue to emphasize advancing racial equity throughout all aspects of the criminal legal system. Right now, we're particularly concentrated on expanding the capacity for behavioral health, mental health, substance use disorder treatment services, diversion programs, and support services for people re-entering the community after incarceration and at other points along the process. And we will continue to reinforce the Stakeholder Advisory Committee's work as we go forward. So that's the Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force. We're in the thick of this work and the SAC's work. And I think
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for that great comprehensive look at the Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force. After the 2018 listening tour, the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee of the Council drafted a resolution that was a statement of public health, safety, and justice facility or jail planning, a planning principles that we're going to go into how we were going to approach planning a new facility. So once that resolution was adopted, one of the outputs of that was to create a committee to study and do the actual needs assessment that had not been done prior to the other two ballot initiatives. So we formed the committee in 2019. 2020 came along. We had our first meeting scheduled for March of 2020, and guess everybody knows what happened in March of 2020. We went into lockdown, and the project basically got put on hold. So late in 2021, we started planning to retool that effort and to take that stakeholder advisory committee that we had appointed. And by the way, we did that along the same model as the Incarceration Reduction Prevention Task Force. So we had the same kind of governmental and nonprofit representation, as well as we expanded to have a lot more people from the community and people with lived experience to be able to participate in the process. So we ended up with a 38-member committee, which is a large committee to kind of decision-making process with. We have found, though, that the enthusiasm and the willingness to learn and the willingness to show up for everything has really benefited these folks. We started out in January, once we restarted the project. We had our first meeting, and we've been going strong ever since. So the purpose is to guide the development of a justice project needs assessment. What do we need to handle all of our criminal justice needs, our behavioral health needs, and our substance abuse disorder needs? So can I get the next slide, please? This is just just shows you the broad representation of folks. We have folks from all walks of life on our committee. Like I said before, the participation has been really, really. You make that bigger? Is that what you're asking? I don't know. Can you make that bigger? So these are the folks that have been meeting with us. We have a planning committee that we, early on, we decided that this effort was so large, we needed a very dedicated planning committee to make sure that we kept everything on task. So Stephen, Jack Hovenier, both the co-chairs of the IPTRF, myself, and then we had support staff from Crossroads and Kathy Halka and Jill Nixon from the council office. So we've had like this 8-9 member team that's been working every week since January. We meet. We're taking this very seriously. This next slide shows kind of what we've done and where we're headed. We've had 6 meetings so far. We've handled just the foundational element, like you're hearing tonight, some of the history and of the project. And then we went into specific areas. We looked at criminal justice data in April. We formed a team we called it the Behavioral Health Gap Analysis Team, which became known as the BEGAT. And they just did an outstanding job of doing a gap analysis on our behavioral health needs and what we have, what we don't have, what we need, kind of working through now how much it would cost to implement all that. Then we went into a work session on needs and recommendations that came out of some of that study that was done by the behavioral health group. We started talking about facilities in September. October, we started looking at putting together the preliminary needs assessment. We're going to start working on the draft now. Our next meeting is this Thursday, November 17th. We're going to be looking at that. All this public input now is coming together to help form and inform that plan, that report that will be issued as a result of all this work that's going on. So we have a lot of events that I think Holly and Stephen described a little bit about reaching out to some of the harder to reach communities. That's the VITA agency that's doing that. We're going to take everything we hear tonight and follow on comments that we get in email, incorporate that into our thinking. And then we're going to be in January. We plan on having a final presentation of that report to approve it on January 19th. And then the plan is after the Incarceration Prevention Task Force looks at it, we will be presenting it to the council at the February 7th meeting. So that is the plan and the timeline. I think right now we want to hear from you all on your thoughts. So I'm going to turn it back over to Holly to set up our listening session. And again, thanks everybody for being here tonight.
Okay, here we go. Thanks, guys, for your excellent presentations. And just looking at that calendar makes me appreciate again all the hard work of the SAC, because they have been really awesome and just so dedicated and thoughtful in this process. And so here we go. We're going to jump in. Our goal is to get feedback on the draft needs, vision, or the vision, values, and goals, the needs and gaps, and that's in your packet that hopefully you picked up. You can also just say whatever it is that you came here tonight to say about justice. And so we are about to begin the listening session. Two key questions that I think, at least I know, will really help the SAC are these two questions. What do you think is important for our community to help improve public safety and prevent and avoid incarceration? And then what do you think is important to consider for a new jail facility? So if if those are questions that you feel like you'd like to give voice to, that would be really helpful. But again, the floor is, for you, for whatever you want to share. I'm going to talk a little bit about the process for the evening. So it'll be similar to when we come into a council meeting, and we'll have people speaking at the microphones, and then we're going to balance that with the folks that are up here on Zoom. So each person is going to have 2 minutes to speak, because apparently we have 40 people on Zoom and we have about 30 in here. So not counting SAC, I think. So we're going to try for 2 minutes per person, see how that goes. The way that I would like, hopefully that this can work, is if folks can line up and get up to the microphone in kind of clusters of 4, that would be great. And then we'll hear 4 people from the floor, and then we'll hear 4 people from the Zoom. Okay? I know it might seem weird and uncomfortable to stand in line for a little bit, but it does, if we have to wait for each person to do their, red carpet entrance, it really slows it down. So if you wouldn't mind, that would be terrific. If you could just come forward. Make sense? All right. This whole world of the hybrid meeting is like, there will probably be awkward moments, as there already has been. So thanks in advance for your patience. Okay. A couple other pointers for the process. If we run out of time, or if you go home tonight and you think, I wish I had said something else, you can just get online and type it in, right? There's a link here. So we are tracking all those comments, and we will include those in our thinking. Sometimes I've been in meetings where people are like, I'm going to assign my time to another person. Like, don't do that. We're not going to do that. You got your 2 minutes, you say your thing, and then we'll let other people have their turn. From my perspective as the person facilitating this meeting, here's 2 things that I think are really important. First, that everyone has the right to speak, and nobody's voice is more valuable than the other person's. Each person has a point to make and the right to be heard. So I would really prefer, that means like if so-and-so speaks, when we go, yay, that was great. And this person speaks and we're all like silent. That just is rude. Like everybody has a piece. They all count. Let's just be respectful, right? Like it's all important. And the other thing is, you do not, it can be awkward to stand in front of the group of people. So just remember, you don't have to say it perfectly. You can do your very best, and that's enough. But it does make a difference if you are respectful. And I do a lot of public engagement, and I can tell you for sure that if you start being attacking, then people close their ears and they don't hear you. So if you really want to be heard, just being respectful is usually a good idea. Okay, that's just my tips. You're all grown-ups here. You'll figure it out. Okay, are you ready to start? Yeah. All right. So first, people up to the mics, please. Who's ready to talk? Who is feeling bold? Yes, my friend. Come on, let's get some more. And look, this mic too. And Zach, you can also talk. Zach members. So don't be shy. Come on, who's gonna stand up here? Friends. I know you can do it. Okay, ready? All right, the floor is yours, sir. And go ahead and say your name too, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you. My name is Doug Ravel, and thank you to everyone for being here, participating in this process. The first thing I'd like to say is we're all in prison. We're all in jail. If somebody's in a physical jail, we're in a mental jail because we live in a system that hasn't quite figured out yet how to work things properly. I think the most important thing to prevent crime, whether it's violent crime or economic crime, as well as to heal from having committed a crime, is a safe place to cry. I believe that all crime, all unhealthy behavior comes from past trauma, which means uncried tears. And I've experienced that in my own life. At one point in my life, I was suicidally depressed. I suffered horrible abuse when I was younger, and I did some things that I'm not proud of. But I started finding that when I found safe places to cry, to release my emotional pain, that I've been carrying some of it for decades, and I tried to use various substances, including alcohol and drugs and other things, to keep that pain buried, it never worked. But when I found safe spaces to cry, to release that emotional pain, I started finding that I'm a much kinder person than I thought. Because when I'm operating from the fear in my head, I do awful things to myself and I do awful things to other people. But when I'm operating from the kindness in my soul or my heart, I do kind things for myself and I do kind things for other people. And it started when I started releasing the emotional pain through my tears. So I would say, jail. Thank you, whoever said that. Thank you. A safe place to cry, whether it's in the jail or in some sort of rehabilitation process or in our homes or in our businesses, there needs to be a safe place to cry. Human beings need to express our pain through tears. It's not a bad thing to cry. It's actually a necessary thing to cry for us to retain our sanity. Thank you for allowing me to say that.
My name is Joy Gelfillan. I'm president of the Restorative Community Coalition, and most of you here have met me at least once over the past 13 years. I've been studying the problem of mass incarceration in the world and the rate at which the United States outpaces everyone. When you look at the Prison Policy Initiative, the United States is 50 states, if you take them all separately and you put them on a rank and file with all the other 150 countries or something like that, we occupy the first 34 positions, and then basically one or two small countries come in, and then we occupy the next 4 or 5. So we are off the charts in the amount of incarceration. And I started studying that because I wanted to understand why our county corporation is so determined to build another incarceration system and a project that's on 40 acres out in the county. And I know people are talking about maybe we won't do that, but we just paid $150,000 an acre to buy that land. So what's up with that? And I started examining what's really going on over the last 3 years, because in the last 3 years, we have been put in a domination pattern. Civic trauma is real. Before the system, the COVID crisis came in and we went into lockdown. We went into lockdown in our homes. We went into lockdown all over our community, and it's affected us. So in the last 3 years, and certainly in the last month, I actually did a recovery, a conversation with people in the community who were not part of the system. And I've submitted a document here to talk about, we have a choice of either to build a large jail and put all the services inside a large facility as a corporate entity, or we could choose to build a small jail and put massive services out in the community. What I've found is it's a better return on investment for taxpayers if you do small facilities, put the services out in the community. And I've got handouts here for others. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lyle Sorensen. I've been here many times. You know, the last 3 years, something that they have shown us is what we're doing is not working. In 2013, the county retained a professional firm to conduct a needs assessment. That assessment goes through 2026. And at that time, what they found is that we need 649 jail beds to meet the current and future needs from the 2013 assessment that was done. Our county leadership has chosen to completely ignore those recommendations. If we look at our current situation where we have roughly 400 beds, and anyone in corrections will tell you that typically about 80% of those are usable at any given time. So our numbers running 320, 325, we're at maximum capacity right now. So we've completely ignored a professional needs assessment. I would definitely encourage, I appreciate the efforts of the SAC. I think it's great. And I think those are relevant and we should look at those and consider those. But I think we should also retain an outside professional corporation to come in and conduct a professional needs assessment to take a look at what we're doing. Because what I do know about our county is what we do will be stuck with. So if we want discontent in our citizens and in our public safety, because if we look at our numbers, we're out of control, right? I compiled some statistics for you really quickly. Felony assaults this year compared to 2019, and we're not through with the year yet, are up 30.61%. Misdemeanor assaults are about the same. Auto theft is up 237%. Residential burglary is up 92.57%. Crimes against property are up 47.55%. Malicious mischief is up 197.68%. Robbery is up 110%. Vehicle prowls are up 161%.
Your time is up.
So what we're doing is not working. So we need jail and services. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lindy McDonough. I'm just an average citizen. I haven't been studying this subject for quite some time. But I see that one of your draft values, number 1, is protect public health and safety. And I think overall our community is not feeling safe. There's a new Facebook page that started in Bellingham, kind of a colorful name to it. And I asked on that Facebook page if people would give me their comments on how they feel about crime, the recent spike in crime. And I don't have time to read them all because we're only 2 minutes, but I particularly like this one from this woman. She said, I miss being surprised at seeing shady beep going on, watching obviously stolen merchandise and bikes being wheeled down the road, seeing people obviously under the influence blocking traffic on our busy public streets, hearing from a friend that their car was ransacked or worse yet, stolen, calling 911 when threatened with assault with a weapon, hearing of another dangerous repeat offender booked and released and back on the streets, walking through an area store and seeing people walk out with carts of stolen goods, having to call the tow company again and again to remove an unlicensed POS RV from our private property, seeing bullet holes on our local convenience store from a drug deal gone bad, stepping over broken glass in a parking lot from a smash and grab. I hope for times to return to normalcy and to not expect to see this behavior on a daily basis. I'd like to go back to the days when I wasn't picking out my wardrobe to accommodate my concealed handgun. People are starting to defend themselves with mace or whatever they feel they need to. I'm concerned about the coming Christmas shopping season. People are not feeling safe.
Thank you.
They're driving to Skagit Valley to shop. So yes, we need a jail, and I think it should be all inclusive. The chief just spoke on how great the jail is in Snohomish County, and I think that's probably a good model.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to try and see then if we can hear the folks, people on Zoom.
For those of you
And-
joining on Zoom, if you could raise your hand virtually if you'd like to speak, and we'll call you by the name listed. The first person listed is Dina Jensen, and then we'll go to Bruce Perelskin. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Go ahead, please, Dina. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, Dina Jensen, Birch Bay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I am glad to see everybody there tonight. I'm glad everyone is participating because I think that's something that we really need if we're going to be successful at all in providing public safety. We need more people to be involved, and we need all of our leadership to be encouraging that involvement and nurturing it and helping people move forward to provide it. I just wanted to also thank the agencies that do provide a land acknowledgement, as was provided tonight, and I'm carrying that with me as I make my comment tonight. And I just wanted to mention the fact that I did watch the video of the jail tour with Mr. Hovenier and Mr. Erickson. And I just wanted to point out, I thought the period that they spent inside the kitchen, and also noted the same situation in the shower area where there's mold in the jail and the mold is falling down on the people who are working and in the dish area, so that it's possibly getting on things that is making people unsafe. Okay, we are government agencies, our community members, we all do things that make people unsafe. In our jail, we are making people unsafe.
30 seconds, please.
So we need to all be working together to provide services that can keep people out of the jail, to keeping the limit of people who are going to be held in the jail to a minimum, to be providing the type of services that everybody needs inside the jail, but mostly providing services outside the jail to keep people from coming into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Bruce Perelskin. Go ahead, please, Bruce, and then we'll go to Misty Flowers. Go ahead, Bruce. You have 2 minutes.
Thanks for your time and thanks for holding this event. And I have great respect for the effort that you're making to address the issues of that are driving crime. But one of the things that I just think really needs to stay out front, our experience right now is that there's nothing being done. Basically, the police are handcuffed in such a way that virtually nothing is being done to stop the crime that is taking place. And when there's no deterrent, because if you arrest somebody, they're going to go right back on the street because there's no jail space, et cetera. And because the laws have gotten too soft, et cetera. No deterrence, you're going to have crime. I mean, the savings and loan industry, very wealthy people without mental problems, without being homeless, without anything else, stole millions and millions of dollars when there were lack of regulations and lack of enforcement. So I just want to really emphasize, we need to do something more quickly than 5 years from now to make it such that the police have the resources they need, and the courts have the resources they need, and the jails have the resources they need, such that if somebody knows if they commit a crime, there's going to be a consequence. No consequence will never get rid of the crime, no matter how many good services we provide. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll go to Misty Flowers. And if anyone would like to speak and you're joining online, if you'd like to speak after Misty, please raise your hand virtually by clicking the hand icon. Or if you're joining by phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. Go ahead, please, Misty. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I would definitely like to reiterate what the last speaker said about the fact that there right now is no accountability in Whatcom County for crimes. And I've been here for 20 years. I've never seen Whatcom County anywhere like this. It's always been a safe place for me and my children, even at night, to walk downtown Bellingham. And now it's turned into a place where it's very riddled with open crime of all sorts and a lot of drug activity, and it makes it really dangerous. And part of the problem of ignoring this ongoing issue with the jail and the fact that it does need to be upgraded or a new jail needs to be built to house people that are criminals, both violent criminals, but also when people are stealing over and over or doing other things that are reckless, they need to be held accountable. And that accountability does create safety in our community. And so I think that the best thing that we could be doing is really focusing on having a facility that can house criminals in a safe manner, humane way. I know we have that La Bounty property. It makes sense that we would build something there where there's space for parking and space to expand over time. I appreciate Sat Paul saying that we need to focus on having something that works now with the potential of expanding later. Right now, we need to focus on having a safe jail.
Please.
We need to have a safe jail for people to be housed in to deal with crime, because right now Whatcom County is out of control. And I am very grateful for the Second Amendment and for the ability for me to protect myself and my children right now with what's been going on in Whatcom County, because it shouldn't be this way. We should not have to fear for our lives going to get groceries at night at Fred Meyer or worry about getting attacked going downtown.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is up.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we'll go to the attendee listed as Lindsay Clark. And after that, I'll hand it back to you, Holly, in the chambers for 4 speakers in person. But I'd like to remind those joining online that if you'd like to speak, you can go ahead and raise your hand and we'll put you in the queue to speak. Go ahead, please, Lindsay Clark.
Hi, my name is Lindsay. I am actually the re-entry specialist working at the Whatcom County Jail. And I'm the only re-entry specialist that's been working at the Whatcom County Jail since 2020. However, I started this year. So from 2020 to 2022, they didn't have a re-entry specialist. For all of this year, we had one mental health professional until September when she went on maternity leave, and we got a couple other mental health professionals that are now working there. But we don't have enough room for mental health professionals, and we don't have enough room for more reentry specialists. And so I'm really the only one there that am trying to set inmates up with mental health services and substance use services and housing when they get out. And there are no organizations that are accepting new clients for mental health services and substance use services. And there is no available housing for when these inmates get out. So it's really difficult, the role that I do every day, but I try my best. And so I'm really glad that all of you guys are here tonight to show your support. And I'm hoping that as a community, we can work together to try and get these services available to these inmates.
30 seconds, please.
I would say probably 65 to 70% of the inmates are severely mentally ill, and probably that same amount have a substance use disorder. We have one individual that is contracted to come into the jail and do substance use assessments on inmates. So we are running into challenges, and I do appreciate everybody for being here tonight and listening to me. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so in the chambers, yes, please. If you get 4 folks, that would be wonderful.
Hello, my name is Natalie Chavez. Thank you, Whatcom Justice Project folks, for hosting the town hall this evening. On Tuesday, September 20th, I attended the town hall at the Whatcom Museum regarding law enforcement and the increase of crime in Bellingham. The town hall was well attended with standing room only. There were 3 downtown Bellingham business owners who addressed community members before the panelists spoke, and it was very eye-opening. Even though one Bellingham business owner is on a shoestring budget, she has hired a private security agency because there have been numerous assaults and threats to her employees. Also, the business owner stated that Bellingham residents are not feeling safe, that there are people openly selling and using drugs, overdosing at business door front entrances, sex trafficking, and that more aggressive violence is being seen in our community. The Bellingham Police Department Deputy Chief Don Ulmer said at that town hall that the Bellingham PD is hiring for 29 vacant positions and that there are 26 police officers who are 50 years of age or older. So those 26 officers will be retiring in the somewhat near future. Last year, Bellingham Mayor Seth Fleetwood mandated for all City of Bellingham employees to be injected with an experimental COVID vaccine that has emergency use authorization only. The Bellingham Mayor's unethical COVID vaccine mandate affected the Bellingham Police Department since they are City of Bellingham employees. Numerous police officers were coerced and pressured to get an experimental COVID vaccine injection or else lose their jobs. 12 very experienced police officers were fired, which included female, male, Black, and white officers.
30
There were
seconds,
also
please.
officers who took an early retirement, resigned, moved out of state, or who got hired onto different police departments that do not have a COVID vaccine mandate and that do not discriminate against their employees. In the end, our community lost numerous very experienced Bellingham police officers who each had between 13 to 25 years of law enforcement experience. We now have a police department with a low morale, shortage of officers, and the city wasted thousands, if not millions of dollars for
Thank you for your
extensive training
comments. Your time is up.
of those fired officers and extra training for those who were trained negotiators, SWAT team, etc. The next speaker will now finish reading the end of my public comment.
My name is Don Pham. Our community also lost 50% of Washington State Patrol troopers after Inslee's unethical COVID vaccine mandate. 8 of the 16 state troopers in Whatcom were fired. Fortunately, a few of the experienced fire officers, those who decided to remain in our deteriorating community, were hired on at the Whatcom County Sheriff's Department. Regarding your question, what do you think is important for our community to help improve public safety? My response is this. Number one, please encourage Mayor Fleetwood to rescind his unethical and discriminating COVID vaccine mandate for both law enforcement and firefighters. Especially since the crime crisis and violence in our community continues to get worse as prices for food, services, and fuel continue to increase. Number two, please support a new jail on the La Bounty property, which will allow adequate space for all jail-related services and allow space for expansion as needed. We are currently spending $3.3 million every year to rent jail space in Snohomish County. This is horrifying. We could have used those millions of dollars to build our own jail by now.
30 seconds, please.
We need competent leaders to take action now. Our community is in a state of emergency, not for COVID. We are in a state of emergency due to crime, drugs, and violence. Please don't wait. Activate positive forward motion to obtain our public safety goals. This time is of essence. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joanna Starrett. I wasn't actually planning to speak tonight. First of all, substance use is a disease. It's not a moral failing. And mental health challenges are also disease states, and they're also not a moral failing. The fact that we're incarcerating people who are ill in a jail is basically reprehensible. The fact that we're doing it in that jail that I saw the video of it's horrifying. Nobody should be living in that. Nobody should be working in that. I guess my question is, I'm seeing this effective existing programs to divert more people from incarceration. And my question is, my understanding is that none of those programs are full. So it says here increasing the capacity of, but my understanding is that mental health court and drug court in this county are never full, that people getting referred to those are referred by the prosecutor. And for the most part, those seats aren't filled. So we have some community pieces that aren't being implemented. And I want to know why. And then I guess the other part is there's a lot of discussion about it being dangerous in the community. I moved up here 3 years ago. I've lived in Washington State for the last 25 years.
Seconds, please.
I don't find it unsafe at all. I do find it uncomfortable because there's a lot of homeless and there's a lot of mentally ill folks and there's a lot of people with substance use. And if you have the privilege to live in a house, I would say that seeing them on the street is probably a little uncomfortable. It is for me. Lastly, I'd like to know why the jail is giving people Subutex rather than Suboxone when they have drug issues. Subutex is basically getting them high in jail. It's partially high, but it's still high. Suboxone, while it's more expensive, has naloxone in it, which is a far better medication-assisted treatment platform. And I think that's about money. And I think we're doing a disservice. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Jimmy Kitchens, and sorry. I'm just really disgusted in what I'm seeing in this community. And I've never stood up for anything in my life, but it's time to stand up. And I had over $10,000 in tools stolen from me. I'm an artist. It's my livelihood. And I had enough. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing in this community. So much crime was happening. And it hurts me to see what's happening. And I can't just stand aside and just not do nothing. It's out of control. There is just so much happening. So much theft, drugs, everything bad is happening in this community right now. And I've just not seen too much good, and everybody is just kind of stuck in their own little ways and kind of stuck in their bubble. But there's a site on Facebook that's a lot of people been opening their eyes to what's happening in this community. And it's time for people to stand up and not be afraid. Don't have that fear. It's time to stand up for your community, because this is a great community. And I've been doing a lot of my own for the last 2 years, been going around and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I just couldn't let it happen. And Home Depot, Ross, Marshalls, all these retail stores are being destroyed by crime, drugs. People are doing drugs in the bathroom. It's horrible. And I have been helping preventing that at my own will. And there's no fear in that. I will keep doing it, and the best way that I can, and without, harm and endangerment to the people. But I do care about this community, and I want to do the best I can to help. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're now back on to the Zoom speakers, yeah? So do you want to just sit for a second? We'll see. We're doing 4s and 4s. Yeah. So Kathy, do we have some other folks on Zoom?
We do. We'll go to Marcus D. Stidham and then David C. And if anyone else would like to speak after that, please raise your hand virtually by clicking the hand icon or dialing *9 if you're joining by phone. Go ahead, please, Marcus. You have 2 minutes.
I thank you for your time. This is Marcus D. with Serenity Outreach Services. I'm glad to have your ear, all of you, and I appreciate your focus on this issue. As you know, there's lots to it. And, as you probably know, from my end, I deal a lot with the homelessness end of stuff. I'm not saying that's where all the crime comes from, but it's certainly, it's again, a need assessment, right? We have a needs assessment, people. Look at the needs assessment. We have a jail reentry person saying there's no place for them to go to. This is a call for services before the jail. We need to have those services in place. We just heard from a gentleman who's vaguely talking about vigilantism or whatever. And I think that's a needs assessment as well. We need to bring it under control, all right, but we need to do that in a calm, rational, adult fashion. We've been in a state of declared homelessness emergency since 2017, and so I strongly suggest you engage that group where we find an inordinate amount of mental health issues and addiction issues, and we can try to get as many of them sorted out as quickly as possible before the jail can even come online. Even if we started building tomorrow, we still have 5 years to wait on that. So let's get busy. on helping the people we can visibly help and tangibly help right away. We know how to do that. The funds are available. We need leadership to do that. I also want to point out that if we were to do a jail in a remote location, statistically, we do know for a fact that people who use the remote court system, if you're in
20 seconds, please.
if you're wearing an orange vest, an orange shirt, and you're in court, you're more likely to be found guilty if you're on the screen rather than in person. And so that's going to fill your jail faster too. So let's not fill our jail with people who are in need of services and who will need further services, more services, and have a bad name attached to them when they come out. Let's do it together, but we must provide services before jails. Say it with me.
Thank you. Next.
Next, we'll go to the attendee listed as David C. Go ahead, please, David. You have 2 minutes.
My name is David Crook. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I wanted to say I've been commuting to work on foot, on bus since 2009 or so. Every single day, I walk through downtown. I feel very safe. I do see homeless folks here and there. Obviously, people need to eat and shelter from the rain and whatnot, and we don't have adequate services for them right now. We need to do more. Second point, I would say we can't understand the need for a jail when we're talking of needs assessments and whatnot, if we're using old biased, kind of frameworks for understanding that. And then also in an environment where we're not yet providing adequate housing and services, we're still contributing to that ingress for new incarcerated people. And yeah, we can't use data from that and say, oh, well, we understand the need for a jail. We need to first focus on services, first focus on housing, and then maybe later, we can understand more of the jail needs. But yeah, we need to look at that in the right order. We need to get rid of our punishment mentality and focus on people as human beings. People are not intrinsic criminals just because they're wearing shabby clothes or because they're so poor that they're panhandling and in order to be able to eat something. So anyway, there's that
20
point.
seconds, please.
Thank you. I did want to say, just in response to some of the other comments, I'm grateful to the city for mandating the COVID vaccine. This is no place and no time anymore for anti-vaxxer kind of messaging. I'm sorry people feel that way, but yeah, we need to keep each other safe as a community and focus on our collective health and the sum of who we are. Thank you.
If anyone else would like to speak and you're joining online, please raise your hand virtually now by clicking the hand icon or dialing *9 if you're joining by phone. Next, we'll go to the attendee listed as Sarah Rose, and after that, Mary Walker. Go ahead, please, Sarah.
Thank you. So it seems that the Incarceration Prevention and Reduction Task Force has done a great job, so thank you. However, dangerous and repeat offenders need to go to jail to protect the rights and protect the safety of the people. The county and the government at every level are spending huge sums of money on homelessness, drug and alcohol abuse, mental illness. There are churches and places of worship for many faiths where anyone who is interested can find spiritual and moral guidance. Those people who want help and want to turn their life around do have resources. If providing treatment for the underlying causes of criminal behavior was all we needed to prevent crime, we would see that crime would be disappearing, not escalating. It is clear that there are many criminals who will not stop crime simply because they want to become better people. We can see that criminals no longer even try to hide their crimes. If there are no deterrents, criminal behavior continues. Criminals will stop crime when they're in jail, and the best way to prevent incarceration is for potential criminals to know that there will be consequences to their actions. There is an explosion of crime in Whatcom County due to lack of jail space and due to the decimation of the Bellingham police force by the city of Bellingham's illegal mandates. The city of Bellingham violated over 20 state and federal laws when they fired 12 police officers due to their vaccine mandates. The county council has been negligent in building a new jail. The county council had no problem in shutting down schools,
30
churches,
seconds, please.
to prevent deaths from COVID. But strangely, the county council does not seem to be concerned that people are dying from murder. Last year, there were 2 murders in Bellingham, and this year there have been 10 murders. There is a public safety emergency in Whatcom County. It is time to restore law and order in Whatcom County. The top priority is building a new jail and increasing jail space while the jail is being built. Do this now before more people die.
Next, we'll go to Mary Walker. Go ahead, please, Mary. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead, please, Mary Walker. Unmute your microphone. You have 2 minutes.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for convening tonight and allowing for comments from the public. I especially want to thank those who have spoken about the increasing risk to our Whatcom County residents through decreased safety. We've had many Bellingham and county events over the past year, which have allowed for the public to speak. What I haven't heard is a well-constructed response from our area leadership, whether it's city or county. It seems that our leadership, is asleep at the wheel and unresponsive. I echo all the comments asking for increased measures for citizen safety, especially those tonight of Lyle Sorensen, Lindy McDonald, Misty Flowers, and the woman who spoke right before me. I've heard their pleas before. Thank you, Jimmy Kitchens, for your actions on behalf of businesses and individuals. It's not a surprise that vigilantism will continue and will increase to fill the void of limited police intervention. Please continue with your efforts toward a county jail, which will ensure consequence to criminal actions, and continue to maintain an open and responsive dialogue for those through no fault of their own as citizens, as law-abiding citizens of this county, are victimized every day through assaults, thefts, and other crimes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kathy, are we ready then to shift to the council chambers?
Yes.
I think, yeah. Okay. So next 4 people. Thank you all. I appreciate you coming up to the line. And you're first. Yeah.
Good evening, John Lesso, former resident of Whatcom County for 23 years, now living in Vancouver, BC. I'd like to give you kind of a different political perspective on this. What happened in the civic elections in Vancouver exactly 1 month ago should serve as a cautionary tale for Mayor Fleetwood, Executive Sadhu, and their respective councils. Vancouver's liberal woke mayor, Kennedy Stewart, was unceremoniously turfed after just 4 years in office, the first incumbent in over 40 years to be ousted in this manner. The main reason was his perceived inability to deal with crime, homelessness, and the opiate crisis, particularly in the notorious downtown East Side. His opponent, Ken Sim, became the first Chinese-Canadian mayor of Vancouver. Sim had one resident campaign promise to hire 100 additional police officers and 100 mental health professionals to deal with Vancouver's crime and drug problem. Members of Sim's right of center ABC party also scored election victories. Tonight, November 15th, this newly installed Vancouver Council will vote on funding these additional police and health services. Now, Seth and Seth Paul, I've known you both for over 20 years. You are good, well-intentioned men. But unless you distance yourself from these soft on crime, social justice warrior policies that are killing your city and your county, you will not be around for a second term because voters are angry. I was in last week. The city I called home for a decade has changed markedly and for the worse. Graffiti, hobo jungles, open drug use, and rampant crime. According to law enforcement, fentanyl is the leading cause. Hire more police. Start arresting people and treat them, or you will end up in the same fate as your woke counterparts in Vancouver.
Wow, that was awesome. I wanted to reiterate, we need more police. We need accountability. We need law and order. We need to move out of theories and into action. It's very oil to have these discussions and, we can pat ourselves on the back all day. But, people are getting hurt, people are getting murdered. And I'm scared for my kids. My husband and I own a business, and when we attend like barbecue or functions, people kind of laugh. Bellingham, Whatcom County has become a big joke because nobody's enforcing the law. And people are leaving. Maybe you want them to leave if they don't have your same opinions, but I think it's pretty sad. I've lived here for 33 years, my entire married life. I'm proud to be from Bellingham, but it's less so now. I do believe that the vax mandates have hurt people. And they've hurt us from being safe when officers have left. They've left the state. People are just like, they're disgusted from these mandates. We have individual freedom and we're allowed to have it. And it just disgusts me that that's taken away. I want to tell you a quick little story. My daughter had friends of friends. They were actually employed by the Fish and Wildlife of Oregon. They came up, thank you. They came up, they went into several bars, they stole things. They went into the grocery store, they stole things because they know there's not going to be consequences. These are kids with degrees that we want our young people to look after our fish and wildlife and all these things. Well, they just think it's a big joke around here. And they went around stealing things. That's sad.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm Max Perry, Whatcom County, lived here for 60-some years. We need a jail. Everybody agrees we need a jail. The law enforcement that had a town hall in Meridian agreed that a jail was essential to be able to put people away and keep the public safe. We have the land. We have 100 acres that is zoned, or not 100 acres. We have acreage off of I-5 that is zoned for a jail, and we can build a jail. And we have a plan. We have a plan that from the Snohomish that they built a new jail down in Snohomish, and it's an ideal jail. And we were going to build pods that were for the jail out there. So we need to bring that forth again to the public and make a decision that safety is a prime responsibility for our government, for the public, and we don't feel safe. Thank you.
All right. Okay. First request, please do not say 30 minutes left. I can read the sign right there. So. All right. So my name is Braxton. I've lived in the area in Whatcom County for the last 3 years. I've worked here and I did my own needs assessment just to see what things are as they are right now, knowing that winter is coming and the increasing crisis of everyone's needs becoming important, and realizing that we just do a really poor job of just taking care of each other at a very basic level. I'm watching nursing homes get less support and people just sitting in bed, stuck. I'm watching children's services, the neglect of the support there. And so it's all cascading into a whole event of cascade of chaos. And some buzzwords I hear, drugs is a concern. I watch people in Starbucks drink drugs. If you want to actually define drugs, like what is drugs, putting a label on it. Houseless, that's another like a gap. Homeless to houseless. It's as soon as you start with homeless, you've missed the point. You're already at a disadvantage on a conversation. A lot of services, if we provided food, shelter, and water to people who need it freely, then a lot of the mental health issues would deteriorate. And because there's no option for people who are out on the street, COVID has created the doors to be closed, cash to end. And I'm watching people dance in the inside in downtown Bellingham, dancing inside, the people that are allowed to be there, right next to an alleyway with people who are houseless, who don't have anywhere to go. And so the choices that they have to make to survive create a lot of the chaos that you guys are putting on paper. My time. Thanks.
Okay, we'll go back to the Zoom then. Anybody up in the in that environment, in our online environment, who would like to speak?
We'll go to Jeff Hinman, and if anyone else would like to speak after Jeff, please raise your hand virtually by clicking the hand icon or dialing *9 if you're joining by phone. Go ahead, please, Jeff. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Jeff Heineman. I'm a corrections deputy with the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office. I have not been asked to participate in this. I just thought I'd give everybody the perspective of corrections deputies in the jail. Everybody's talking about the need for law enforcement officers for Bellingham Police Department, Whatcom County Sheriff's Office, and all the local agencies. And that's a very accurate assessment, but it's also the same assessment for people working inside the jail. I've been there for 21 years. I've just recently recovered from a traumatic head injury dealing with an out of control person that was in custody that cost me pretty much 11 months of my career to sit and convalesce and recover from that. But there's just a whole new perspective from inside the building that the tour just doesn't do it justice. I mean, the tour was quiet. You weren't hearing the people banging and kicking. You weren't smelling the feces that inmates are smearing on the windows on a daily basis. You don't have to see the inmates that are deteriorating mentally because there's no space for Western State Mental Hospital or many of the mental health facilities to take them in. A lot of people that are waiting on restoration and treatment for mental illnesses are getting what they call civil flips. After waiting for 4 to 6 months for no bed dates, their crimes are dismissed and they're civilly committed for 2 months or whatever their time is deemed, and then they're released back out into the community. So there are a lot of global
30 seconds, please.
a lot of global things that need to be done to correct what's going on. And I appreciate everybody's efforts, and I'm encouraged with all the support that we're getting. And I just wanted to say thank you and give a little bit of an insight from inside the jail.
Next, we'll go to the attendee, Kim Ninneman, and then Nancy Button. Go ahead, please, Kim. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you for your time. I want to thank the SAC committee for all your guys' dedicated hard work putting together information and trying to decide what this county needs. There's clearly quite a long and exhaustive list of things that the county needs to improve for public safety and for being able to improve the lives of these folks that are clearly kind of screaming for help that we can see in our community. And I just wanted to, it's not exactly a direct needs thing, but I would like to encourage there to be funds toward public facing data for what's going on. I've been trying to keep track of things, and the SAC has done a good job of putting numbers together, but it's not very easy as a person of the public to figure out in the justice, how many people are in the jail or why they're in jail, or general needs. It's hard as a public person to see how many people are getting arrested and that kind of thing. And I think a public facing data kind of interface would be well received. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Nancy Button. Go ahead, please, Nancy.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I just want to thank Jeff Heineman for his service and all the deputies and police officers that are out there trying their best and their hardest to keep us safe, even though it's nearly impossible with all of the decisions that have been made by our government, from the Blake decision to different House bills that have tied their hands. I know that we can't have a jail and we desperately need one. I mean, we can't have it soon enough. But even if we get it passed next year, when it goes on the ballot, it'll be 5 years out. And so until that time, you really must reverse those mandates that say that people who did not take the COVID-19 shot would not be able to work. It's been shown that whether you had the shot or not, you still can get it. You still can transmit it, no matter what your status is on that. And every single person who is fired because they didn't take the shot needs to be rehired in every single position. That would go some ways to alleviate the lack of staff. And there needs to be accountability for people's criminal behavior. And that is not happening, and it needs to happen. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to the attendee listed as Jennifer. Go ahead, please, Jennifer. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I don't need the 30-second reminder either. Hi, my name is Jennifer and I live in the New York neighborhood. I've lived here for almost 8 years. I have 3 children, 17, 13, and 10. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, for offering this opportunity for us to speak, and thanks for listening to what I have to say. This is a really complex situation, as we all know. It needs a multi-pronged approach. I'm really grateful for those who mentioned trauma. Please check out Dr. Gabor Mate's work, because he links trauma and addiction. For those, we also need we also have a need for mental health services, rehabilitation resources, a new healthy jail for workers and inmates. And I agree that we need to rehire all of those fired for unethical vaccine mandates. The ethical choice is to rehire all these people, including the police officers, back with back pay and an apology. I want to share a personal story. Like I said, I live in the New York neighborhood and I live across the street from professional drug dealers. As I've mentioned before, I've been at another town hall. My children have seen drug deals through the bushes. One day we were driving out of our driveway and there was a man who was sweating profusely and leaning up against a car. I'm assuming he was tripping. My 2 13-year-old and 10-year-old children were in the car with me, and I had to call the police department. They had to listen to everything that we were talking about. York is not a cheap neighborhood, and I did not expect to encounter this, even though I understand it's reality of our world now, but I didn't expect to encounter it. One thing that has not been mentioned yet is that our population is suffering from malnutrition, and it's due to food choices and poor gut health, which affects mental health. I wanted to read an excerpt from a book that my boss wrote called Food Fix. So I'm going to have to, don't have time, I'm going to have to send that in an email because I'd like you to see how important nutrition is. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll go back to you, Holly, in the chambers.
Okay. I know somebody who's ready. Yes? Okay. Who else would like to speak in the chambers? Yeah, please. Yeah, if we can get 4 people up here, that would be great. Floor.
All right, thanks. My name's Mark Raven. I've lived here all my life. Grew up here, I've lived in Bellingham, lived out of Bellingham. I've watched the mall get built. Remember that? And I've got a pretty good pulse on what's going on. And I'm telling you, I don't mean to be over dramatic. It's going to turn into Gotham City if something's not done. And the reason for that is yeah, some of it's drug use, some of it's homelessness, but ultimately there's no accountability. I see videos on the aforementioned site earlier of guys getting either intervened with as they're leaving stores with merchandise, basically saying, yeah, what are they going to do? The jails are full. They're just going to give me a ticket. There's no accountability. There's nothing to incentive for them to stop doing it. And unless you get more law enforcement and a place for them to go, and I do agree, we need much better mental health facilities as well, but we got to start with putting somewhere for people who make choices, and these are choices. Nobody forced them to go in that store. Nobody put that stuff in that bag for them or that cart and pushed them out the door. These are choices they made. What was the drugs? Well, you made the choice to take the drugs. We all have choices to make. I have the choice to or not take them myself. And it comes down to that, you know, and so with nowhere for these guys to go, it's only going to get worse. I've seen it. I can promise you that. We see it every day with what's going on. And I don't know if you guys ever seen, there was a Netflix series for a while. This guy goes into jails all around the world and he spends a week in there. And I've seen the pictures of Bellingham and it's not great and it needs work. It needs addressing, but it's the Hilton compared to a lot of places around the world, but they're stacking them high. And I don't mean to sound like the guy who's heartless, but how about some modular, something temporary? These guys don't need the Hilton. You do the crime, you do the time, or the crime, you do the time. That's my point of view. Thanks.
Hi, Mike Reiber, Bellingham resident for over 45 years. You have a difficult task, which is made more difficult because of the shortage in law enforcement officers. It seems to me, I mean, that the facility is need a significant upgrade or replacement, whatever. But it's a balance between a new facility and services. And personally, I'm on the side of that services are a long-term better solution to reduce problems and thank you.
I'm way too loud. My mom's a singer, so she's right up close, but not in this situation. So my name is Tasha. I'm a Whatcom County resident for 47 years and former Bellingham police officer. And I worked downtown as a bicycle officer for 2 of those years and intensely worked mostly with the transient population here in Bellingham. And so I kind of have a different view of some of those descriptions that people have been bringing forth. So as a bike officer, I was referred to as a hard ASS. I held everybody accountable that I came into contact with. But at the end of the day, they were like, thank you, because even though I kept them accountable, I always treated them as a human. And I think that's what we need to remember is we need to remember the human side of it. And what I see happening is not humane, letting people wallow in their own feces in the middle of a sidewalk. But we've tried just housing people without really treating their issues in 22 North. And we've all seen what a disaster that was. And there was more harm in that than good. So I think that has been understood, that has been learned. We have a lot more to go on that side of things. I'm a proponent of a new jail. What I see and what I experienced on the street was people sometimes need the impetus of the police department. I was going to speak to the lady about drug court and mental health court. Why are they not being used? Well, because drug court, we can't arrest them on drugs anymore. So we can't really force them into a drug court situation. I fully support having a jail, and I fully support after legislation to maybe not have to have it on their record for their life. Have goals, have them be accountable, have them work towards not having it on their record anymore so they can move forward in their life when they have made the right decisions and are back on track. And I think that's more humane. Thank you.
Thank you for the time tonight. I don't need a reminder either. We're in a heck of a mess right now. Our community is not safe. It used to be nice, but through the decisions of our leaders, by these ridiculous unconstitutional mandates on the vaccinations, where we got rid of our officers. We need a fix now. Our community is going down the drain, right? We're the taxpayers. We want to be protected. The number one thing that you can do is contact those officers that you fired because they were strong enough and had enough of a backbone to say, I'll make my own decisions. Thank you very much, right? So number one, you need to contact them. You need to be leaders, everybody, the city council, the county council, this task force, whoever. make it right. That's a step in the right direction. Contact those officers, offer them to come back. They've got all that experience, wonderful, wonderful people. They're the exact people that we need in our community to flip it around and get it on the right track. And of course, we're going to have to pay them all their back pay and all that sort of thing. It's only right. It's going to be wonderful if they will come back. But the other thing, we do need the jail. Like the other gentleman said, there are consequences to choices. If those people make those choices to do those terrible things, there has to be consequences, right? We need action from you today. We don't need any more parks. We don't need any more anything like that, because it doesn't matter if we have any of that stuff, because of all the good people are going to move out of the area. Because I'm tired of being accosted in the parking lot by people, God knows what they want to do. I'm tired of not being able to go out at night because it's not safe. I'm tired of the examples in our community where kids think that you can just go in and grab and smash and run and there's no consequences. There are consequences. Stand up and be leaders. We can't wait 5 years. We need it now. Find the money, use the money, do it. Thank you.
I think that was 4, right? I'm losing track. Was that 4? Thanks.
Yes, we'll go to
Okay.
the online attendees now. If anyone who's joining online would like to speak, please raise your hand virtually by clicking the hand icon or dialing *9 if you're joining by phone. Just give it a minute if anyone else would like to raise their hand. We'll go to Janet Johnson. Go ahead, please. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead, please, Janet. Unmute your microphone. You have 2 minutes.
There we go. This is Richard Johnson out here in Everson. I just want to say I agree with everybody that's talking about getting rid of those mandates and hiring those police officers back. Tasha that just spoke there in your courtroom, she's one of them and she's a darn good person. I know her personally, and there's a lot more of them like her that have lost their jobs because of that mandate and all that monkey business. So I fully agree with everybody that's saying we need to hire those people back. They have the experience. It's not like you're going to put a bunch of greenhorns back to work. They know what they're doing. They've been there, they've done it. And they're the kind of people we need to straighten this mess out. And I think we need to build a new jail, and we need to be locking these buggers up that are causing all these problems. You know, rehabilitation is one thing, but you know, when it comes right down to it, they gotta be consequences to their actions. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Jillian Bauer. And after that, please raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Jillian Bauer, go ahead, please. Unmute your microphone, Jillian. You have 2 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, I just want to reiterate about, the assisted livings and stuff like that, not having enough people due to those mandates. I know we can't go back, but I do in-home healthcare through the COPES program. And when we couldn't go in and see our clients when they were in those, I lost one because she was just laying there to rot and she died. And then this year I had another one where the son was like, Jillian, can you go check on my mom? I went in there and she was totally soiled. She had liver issues and her brain was just the ammonia levels. So she had to go to the hospital, but no one noticed that. She had no water, no nothing. I'm a single mom of 2 boys. I currently just this summer had to move out of Bellingham into Blaine because I couldn't afford a 2-bedroom apartment. And, they upped my rent $250 in one jump. So I was paying $1,400 as a single mom. I can't afford that. I lived over in the Birchwood area, and when they changed the Salvation Army into a where they can get services and this and that. That brought a lot of stuff to our neighborhood. My kids, they couldn't even walk to the 7-Eleven without being asked if they wanted to buy drugs. That's just not safe whatsoever. People are getting pushed out of Bellingham, not only for money, but because they don't want to be around the crime. And once you push those people out and the businesses out, what do you have left? You have the criminals and you have the impoverished people, and no one's going to want to live there because there's no jobs, there's no money to do anything. So something needs to happen, or else Bellingham's not going to be what it once was. And it's sad. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
If anyone else online would like to speak next, please raise your hand virtually by clicking the hand icon or dialing *9 if you're joining by phone. Again, just give it another chance. If anyone would like to speak, raise your hand virtually by clicking the hand icon. There are no hands raised. We'll go back to Holly in the chambers.
Okay, here we go. So 4 more people. You ready?
Yeah. I thought 3 minutes was short, 2 minutes. Wow. First of all, thank you. My name is Hannah Ortiz, and I've lived in Whatcom County for more than 43 years. I'm thinking about your questions tonight about how to improve public safety. And I think one of the things we need to start is we've made this really, really broad. I think most of us understand that we're not talking about just homelessness here. We're not talking about just mental health, just addiction. We're talking about the criminal element that makes us feel unsafe in Whatcom County. And we know we need services. People who can pay for services can't get services right now. So we know that's an issue, but we do need a new jail. I think that's important. We have a 97-page report from 2013 that could give you guys a lot of information on the facility. We have a Snohomish model that I think that we could glean from. We need trained staff. We need a really good infrastructure. I think that needs to be our first focus because our jail that we have now is not adequate. And we don't have 5 more years. But I think we do need to focus on the criminal intent. Hopefully legislature this next session will undo some of the havoc that they've caused us for the last 2 years. And I think what isn't humane is picking up somebody 68 times for petty crimes and letting these things continue. We need accountability. I think it's important maybe as a group, you guys, if you haven't already, read the book San Francisco by Michael Schellenberger. Great information about how housing first isn't the answer. A lot of times it just brings in more of the same, but also this book as well, Criminal Injustice, a really good book. I'll email you the title, Barry. I think we need to focus on the things that we can do right now and all of these other great feel-good things that we need to do for preventative measures to reduce incarceration. We can handle that on the peripheral while we address the needs of a new jail now. Thank you.
Okay.
Carol Perry, Whatcom County. Barry, you need to take a message back to the council. I've never heard such good testimonies of how people feel. About 10 years ago, the chaplain of the jail said, "You need to go and see the jail." I was, okay. So Max and I took the jail tour. I was shocked. I didn't know a place like that existed in Whatcom County. 10 years ago. And committee, we got here late. And I know you're doing good work, but you're the 3rd or 4th committee that said we need a jail. We all agree that we need a jail. I've sat in this, after that time, I thought, we have to have a jail now. And it seems like, I don't know how many hours, but hundreds of hours in this chamber. It was a squabble, I guess, over where the city would be at first. And so they hired a very competent company whose business was designing and helping counties build a jail. I think the price tag was $145,000. That was just the first. And oh my goodness, sorry. I just want to say everything that the county needs. We have the land. It costs over $3 million. It's had all.
Thank you, Carol. Your time is up.
Thank you.
You have everything that you need. Everything. There's a beautiful plan with pods. You can.
Well done. Okay, so anybody else? A couple more folks? Yeah, please. And if you, please go ahead. Hi.
Hello, and welcome to today, made possible by God. I didn't really intend to speak, but you guys, I've been watching you as people have been making their comments. You have been nodding in agreement, and you talk about things, but I see no action. You are failing the youth of this county. You are letting the jail go to ruins. You are letting crime take over. You need to hire back those police that you fired, for they are our true heroes. And heroes come without capes. They come here to protect. They risk their lives for us. And they are who we really need, are people who know what is right and who will do the job. So please do hire back those people that you fired, as a lot of people have been saying. Thank you.
Ready?
Hello, thanks for being here, everyone. I enjoyed listening to everybody's input. For the council members that are here, for the gentleman in the red, I can't remember the name of the group you work with.
With IPRTF. Stephen Gockley.
Stephen? Thank you. I appreciate all your work. We do need a new jail, but if the county's bringing forward a proposal, 150 million, we will never have one. Cut that in half, you've got a fighting chance. That's it.
One, two. See, it's getting late and I'm losing count too. Are you going to speak? Come on up, Cliff.
Cliff Langley, and I'm on a committee. I didn't really plan on speaking, but I just want to say a couple of things. I was in the jail when we moved from the 6th floor to the new jail. I was working there. So I have some experience having been there. I worked for a total of 27 years for the Whatcom County Sheriff Department. 2004, I was on the Jail Yes Committee, where we got the citizens to vote for 1/10% to finance the new jail. In 2000, I believe it was 8, Pete Kremen proposed that we take the money that was being put from that into taking care of the jail and stop the financing from the general fund at the 2006 level. So then why did the vote go wrong in 2015? And I've talked to a lot of people and everybody has said it was because we don't trust the council to do what they said they were going to do. We voted to have a jail. We have nothing. So 2015, people voted against the jail. 2017, when it came up, the Bellingham and the attorneys locally said, well, we don't want to move out to Labounty. So they made a big campaign against it. And that's why we're not out there now. So there's a history here, and we need to correct that. If we start working on the Bounty property right now, it's going to take time to do the preparation, the ground preparation, before they can even begin construction. So it's sitting out there. Why don't we do something with it? Begin to work something out now and show the people that they can trust what you said you would do. I know that you weren't on the council then, it was a different council, but they still approved using the money that was supposed to go for a new jail to fix this thing. And how many millions and millions and millions of dollars have we spent fixing that when we should have a new jail?
Thank you, Cliff. We have one more person online, correct, Kathy? Who'd like to speak?
Yes, we'll go to Melissa Weisner online. Go ahead, please, Melissa. You have 2 minutes.
Hi. Well, I can tell you right now, when you guys threw me in jail for defending my children against a literal pedophile and let him go free instead, you hadn't done any work to that jail. So I don't know what he's talking about, the millions that you've spent, but the ceiling was falling in on my head. Well, they denied me my medication for my mental health as I was having a mental breakdown when I should have gone to the hospital. If you call the jail right now, 48% of the jail is filled with mental health patients needing mental health services. Until you address your mental health issues and get places to put these people when they get out of jail, a bigger jail is not the solution. What happens when you put them all in jail and then they get out and they still don't have anywhere to live because nobody will rent to them now because they have a record. They can't get a job because they have a record, and you spent all your money on this fancy new jail and nothing for the services that we need more than anything else in this town. There are so many people seeking detox and mental health services that cannot get them. They don't need to be forced. They need it to be available. You need to work on our mental health. All of our mental health patients are in your jail right now. That's not a mental health hospital. You do not have officers qualified to deal with them. You need a mental health facility and services. Until you get that, locking everyone up in jail is not the solution. Also, you guys don't exactly choose the right people, considering you let the pedophile go free and constantly arrest the victims. Every single time. I have hundreds of women, hundreds of people that have been abused by your system and locked up because we are poor and it's an easy win instead of going after the actual perpetrators. So until you fix those issues, none of this is going to be solved. And I know you hate me, but that's the truth. Have a good night.
Thank you. I wouldn't say we hate you. I think it's really great how everyone has spoken. This just was an amazing forum, I have to say. And I'm actually shocked that it's now 8 o'clock because I was watching the time thinking, oh, we have so much time, but we actually have to wrap it up. So can we, Kathy, can you put up the last slide? And we're going to just talk about next steps. So on the sheet that you all picked up, there is a thing at the very bottom. So for more information, it's got the website. I think that you can find the video link there too. And if you have, again, more thoughts about tonight or reflections, you can send them via email. And also, if you haven't yet taken the survey online, that would be fabulous. I'd really appreciate it. The last thing I just want to say is a huge thank you to Barry and to Jack and to Stephen, who have spent so much time on this project, and for all the SAC members. I mean, you guys have been awesome. And also to Dana and to Kathy and to Marty, who've all just been holding this space to have these conversations and really try and come up with a solution that's going to be the best for our community. And I have full faith in everyone's dedication to that. So we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank you. And Barry, I'm going to turn it over to you to close this out.
Thanks, Holly. Thanks, everybody, for being here. You know, we're all on the same team here. We all have a goal to get a jail built. And all this input is really going to help us formulate the needs assessment. I look forward to next year and a vigorous campaign to get this over the finish line, where we can really make some huge progress and get a ballot initiative approved. So I hope you'll be with us next year when we endeavor, take that endeavor on, and we need the help out in the street knocking on doors. So anyway, have a great night, everybody, and thanks again for being here.